In this episode of the Pad Bank, I talk about the Kanye West and Joe Rogan interview. I respond to the question, Is Boom Bap Dead? I share some thoughts on the new Busta Rhymes album, and I review the submissions for the Flip It Challenge 192.
I made it. Produced. I made it. Produced. I cooked up.
Hello and welcome to the Pad Bank with me, Tony Brown, and this is episode number 11. So welcome. I trust you're all well. Boy, what a time we live in. What a time we live in. As I record this, it is the 1st of November 2020, and where I am in the UK, the government has just announced they're rolling out another round of lockdown, basically, another phase of lockdown. And I know we're all dealing with this globally. You know, this is a global thing, so it's not like, you know, we're in isolation. But it's been a crazy year, man. It's been a crazy year. So we've got more home time, more downtime, hopefully more creative time. But yeah, man, I hope you're all well. I trust you're all well. Again, I don't want to dwell too much on that. I got a lot to talk about in this episode. Again, as always, shout out to everyone in the YouTube community. Shout out to everyone on all the digital streaming platforms that have been supporting the podcast. I've had some great feedback, and I'm excited to see where things are going. I appreciate you guys for the early support, man. You guys are the founding audience. You know what I mean? I said to someone the other day, I've been doing the Pad Bank for 4 years now. You know, the idea of the Pad Bank came together in 2016 when I first bought the Studio Black, and it's crazy because it seems like it's taken that long for it to become what it is today. You know what I mean? To be more established. A lot of that was down to me just not really giving it the time and attention it needed. But yeah, man, it just feels like it's really coming into its own now. You know what I mean? The brand's established. Obviously, the community on Facebook is established, which I'm actually thinking about making some changes. It's something that I suggested to the community probably about 2 years ago, about taking it off Facebook, because there's too many distractions on Facebook, way too many distractions on Facebook. Like I don't engage that much in the community because it's on Facebook. You know what I mean? I try to stay away from it. If the Pad Bank didn't exist, I probably wouldn't have a Facebook account. So I've been looking at other solutions, and obviously now, because I've got the website set up, there's a few more options open. So keep your eyes peeled, look out for some announcements there. Like I said, I am thinking about making some changes and potentially taking that group off of Facebook. I mean, we'll always have a presence on there. We'll probably just have a Facebook page, but in terms of the actual community, I think it's time we took it off there, man. You know, we give, you know, as content creators, we empower these platforms, and by empowering the platforms, we disempower ourselves as creatives and as content creators. You know, the more content we put on those platforms, the more value those platforms have. And then because those platforms have that value, they then in turn flip it and want to charge us for certain access. Like, imagine you've got to pay to access your audience. That is crazy. You know, so if I post something on my Facebook timeline or on my Facebook group or on a page, I could have 5,000 followers, and it's only going to go to a very small percentage that they're then going to charge me to reach a wider audience. I could have that same 5,000 people in a group on a page that I own, you know, in a website that I own, and if I post something, they're all going to get it. They're all going to see it. Do you get what I'm saying? But it's almost like until we take the leap of faith and believe in the platforms that we can own for ourselves, we're always going to be giving away our value. But that's not what I'm here to talk about today. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, the reality is we need to own our own platforms. Do you get what I'm saying? We need to create our own forums, own our own websites, and just use those other platforms just as leverage you get what I'm saying? Whether it's for discovery, whether it's just for marketing purposes, whatever it might be, keeping it in its rightful place. You know what I mean? Don't let that be the go-to place for your brand, because when they're ready to switch up their terms and conditions and to turn access off and to, you know what I mean, take your page down, you're finished. You're done out here. So, yeah, man, little side note there. Anyway, like I said, I got a lot to talk about. It's been an eventful week in hip hop. It's been an eventful week in the producer forums. It's been an eventful week just in general. Like I said, with all of the government announcements, there's a whole heap going on in America with the politics, and again, I'm not even trying to get involved in an argument. So yeah, man, let's get into it.
I made it. Produced, I cooked up.
So last week, Kanye West made an appearance on the Joe Rogan podcast, which it's a podcast that I do watch quite regular and listen to quite regular. I was pleasantly surprised to see Kanye on there. The reason being is because, as we all know, since Kanye West has reached a certain status and has had a certain level of fame, i.e., since he kind of hooked up with Kim Kardashian and inherited a whole new fan base, he hasn't done and he doesn't do many long form interviews. So to see him on Joe Rogan for like a good 2.5-3 hours, I thought this is going to be interesting. This is going to be very interesting. So yeah, man, I watched it, and one thing I felt was that he's been very, obviously Joe Rogan's known for being very raw, very they're long form interviews, so the conversation can go anywhere, and it just seemed like Joe Rogan had been prepped and says, yo, we ain't talking about that, and we're not talking about that, because it almost seemed like he just sat there and was just looking and just going, You know what I mean? He wasn't inquiring and digging and going deeper with certain things Kanye was talking about that he would do with other guests on his show. So it seemed like, that they'd had that agreement that if I do come on your show, there's certain things we ain't talking about. I would assume that that's the case here. But one thing I felt is that it's unfortunate that the Kanye that was willing to sit there for 3 hours and talk to Joe Rogan is not the Kanye we all grew to know, love, and hate, and be inquisitive about. He was presenting himself in the new Kanye. Obviously, he's born again. He's very open about his religion, about his faith, about his relationship with God, about his new mission. He's very open about that, and it's like that's the Kanye he was presenting. Which it is what it is. That's who he is now. So of course that's who he's going to present. But it's just a shame because, we wanted to hear more of a rounded presentation of who he is, what he's been through, what he's going through. How It was kind of like we wanted more, and it was like it was almost very one-sided. So that was my initial thought. I'm watching, I'm thinking, I can tell he's being very selective about what he's talking about and how he's presenting himself. It was like a very controlled delivery. But as it went on, it got more and more, I could see he was getting more and more comfortable. There are a few things he said that for me were very, very inspiring. I'm not saying the whole thing was inspirational. It wasn't really that in that sense, but there was a few things he said, and it prompted something in my thoughts, and I was like, yeah, man, I hear that and I agree with that. And I want to start implementing some change in my life and in how I approach things based on some of the things he said. One of the things he said was he was talking about him as a producer has made him a better, if not one of the best product developers and designers. Product designers more than developer. He has all these ideas, and obviously now he's financially is in a position that he can bring his ideas to fruition. And he was talking about he's looking at doing this, he's looking at setting up schools and having a 100,000 people choir, and going into this partnership with this company. talking about building a monastery and all these different things. But one of the things he said was with regards to, his product development and some of the people that he's in and around. And he was saying, like, at Universal, he was saying, you imagine you've got, as the label, you've got the guy who's been responsible for creating a $1 billion brand, as in Yeezy. Yeah, he's created that. He masterminded it. He was the brainchild behind it. He's brought it to fruition. He's also the person who's like pushed the brand. He's navigated his way through all those barriers to bring it to fruition. And now it's a $1 billion company. And he's saying, imagine you've got that person in your label. Why would you not want to make best use of that person? Do you get me? Why would you not want to leverage everything that person has to offer? But they've just put him in a box as a musician, as an artist. They're only really willing to engage with him as a label and an artist, in a label and artist relationship. And I was like, wow, that's a big deal. That is, like, wow, that we. And this is across, not just producers, not just people in the industry, just across the board as human beings. It's very easy to create a box for ourselves and be very, very successful in that box, to the point where people aren't willing to accept you outside of that box. Like, they can't accept that Kanye West could be a great executive. It could be a great, whatever it is, whatever he chooses to put his hand to. I mean, he's talking about, going into politics and all that. And he's saying, as a producer, and the journey he's been on, those skills are transferable to being a president. But just from a business point of view, from a company point of view, it's true what he's saying. If I had a company and I had an employee or someone in my company who proved to be a great product developer, product designer, always had great ideas, just basically brought a ton of value to my company, I want, for the best interest of my company, I would want to utilize those skills across the board, not just in one area. Let's say they were working in sales. I would want to also use their skills across the board. So get them involved in marketing, get them involved in, the administration side of things, get them involved in product development, get them involved in everything. And that's what he's saying. He's saying, it's almost like they're not willing to engage with me outside of my musical ability, outside this musical box. They're crazy. So, again, what I took from that is, number one, don't create a box for yourself to be trapped inside of. Yes, do what you do best in the area you do it best, whether it's as a producer, as an MC, whatever it might be. Yes, flourish in that box and do the best you can to the point where you break out of it, but don't be restricted to operating within that box. And also, don't allow people to diminish who you are or belittle who you are outside of that box. If you can be, as long as you can demonstrate, these skills are transferable, don't allow anyone to belittle or diminish who you are just because they're used to seeing you operate in a certain field or a certain area. And don't be scared to step out of that. If you can demonstrate greatness in a certain area, that can be transferred elsewhere. So that for me was the biggest inspirational takeaway. I just remember sitting there listening to it, and he said that, and I had to pause it, and I was like, wow, imagine that. You imagine a company they're not willing to accept his greatness outside of his musical ability. Like, he can't be a CEO of this company, he can't be a shareholder of this company, but he's demonstrated greatness in other areas. So why would you not want to utilize that greatness elsewhere? Something to think about. But yeah, man, like I said, that was the main takeaway for me from that interview was, as well as other things, that was the thing that stopped me in my tracks and I had to reflect on it for a minute. So yeah, man, don't be boxed in, guys. Don't create a box for yourself, and don't remain in that box. If you're great in one area, it's likely that greatness, those skills, are transferable to another area. If you haven't listened to the interview already, I definitely recommend going and checking it out. Like I said, it's like a 3-hour interview, and it goes in all these different places. Another thing I saw as well is having a long form interview with Kanye. It kind of showed how his brain works. Like, enough of the stuff that people bash Kanye West for is sound bites, tweets. Do you get what I'm saying? Statements that can be taken out of context. But when you hear him for 2.5 hours, 3 hours, you begin to understand his mind. Do you know what I mean? His mind is like just one of those mad scientists, just churning ideas, can't stop, to the point where, you know, he's going down one route with his conversation and suddenly he diverts and goes somewhere else and then goes, you know what I mean? And then he's got to catch himself and come back and say, right, I know I've gone off on a mission now, but I need to come back to, I'll come back to that in a bit, but I need to say this. You know what I mean? It's like, he's like a mad scientist, man. Borderline genius. So yeah, go and check it out. If you haven't checked it out, go and check it out. That's Kanye West on the Joe Rogan podcast.
I made it. Produced, I cooked up.
So this week, in one of the Facebook communities I'm involved in, somebody posted the question, is Boom Bap dead? So I've got a few thoughts. About it. It's a bit of a stupid question, to be honest. But then I had to stop myself and try to understand the mindset of the person asking the question. And also, I didn't want to just jump with an initial response. I wanted to think about the statement and the question being asked. But my initial response is, how can Boom Bap be dead? How can we all be in the same group, in the same community online with, you know, a couple thousand people? There's a ton of people in the group. The majority, the bigger percentage of producers in that group are predominantly boom bap type producers. So then I thought, what kind of stupid question is that? We're all here because we share the same interest. And I'm conscious, in a lot of these groups, people post things just to get a response. The person who posted this, I believe they knew the answer to the question. They just wanted a response. They wanted to put something out just to have some engagement and some activity under their post. So it's like, oh, look at my post. Look, it's got like all these responses and people are going off and it's my post. So there's like almost like a satisfaction, like, yeah, I posted something that generated some activity. But taking it away from Facebook and just responding to that question, how can Boom Bap be dead when there's just in that group alone, there's thousands of people in the group who do Boom Bap, or are inspired by Boom Bap, or have Boom Bap inspired music. And I'm not going into, like, someone says, oh, so what's your definition of Boom Bap? Or, you know, there was all these different responses. What makes something boom bapping? And that just went down a whole different road. There was a big argument about what is boom bap, and people were posting songs to say this is it and this is that. And I was just like, really? Come on, guys. Come on, man. But the opposing question, or, you know, the rebuttal for me is from the hip hop culture. Is graffiti dead? Is turntablism dead? Is breakdancing and b-boying dead? Is battle rap dead? Is, you know, beatboxing dead? It might not be mainstream. It might not be, you know, the current forerunner in the hip-hop culture. But that doesn't mean there's not tens of thousands of people actively engaged in that culture every single day. You might not see it. You might not be acknowledged by people outside of the community for your contribution to the culture. But that doesn't mean it's dead. So what it really got me thinking was, do we then assess the life or death of something based on the mainstream's perception of it? If it's not in the mainstream, if it's not getting played on the radio every day, if it's not on mainstream TV, if it's not on all the TV shows and whatever else, if it's not covered in mainstream media, does that mean it's dead? And to me, the answer is no, it doesn't. Mainstream does not dictate whether something is dead or not. It's just not mainstream. Do you get what I'm saying? And really, if you think about it, hip-hop has never really, really been mainstream. It's always been underground. And the realist form of it will always be underground. So my other response to it as well was, and again, this goes back to something I spoke about in a previous, I think it was last week, in a previous episode. You look at, your Griseldas, DJ Premier. DJ Premier has had a good number of decades, like 3 decades of a career, and he hasn't changed with the times. He hasn't changed with what's mainstream or what's popular. He's just maintained. He just makes what he makes. Do you get what I'm saying? His style has changed over the years, but he just makes what he makes, and he has been able to sustain a career as a producer. Also, something I'm going to move on to, Busta Rhymes released a new album this week, and I was pleasantly surprised with the beat selection on there. I would say Busta Rhymes' new album, which, from on my timeline and from my outlook, it's being received by the mainstream. He was on Jimmy Fallon, he was all over Times Square. He basically, marketing wise, it was everywhere, and it still is everywhere, and it's easily 80% boom bap, easily. And again, I don't want to get into the nitty gritty of what is classed as boom bap. For me, it sounds like traditional East Coast hip hop, the majority of it. And obviously, he's got some newer stuff on there, and I'll cover that when I get into that segment. But that to me just solidified and backed up the argument to say, nah, it's not dead. It's very much alive. Very much alive. So let's not be dictated to by what the industry says. The culture is the culture, and there's a clear separation between what we hold as important in the culture might not be transferred into the industry, but that doesn't matter. That doesn't mean that the culture's dead. I know a couple of graffiti artists who they never stopped doing graffiti just because graffiti didn't go mainstream. They've been doing it and doing it and doing it to the point where they now have made a successful career as graffiti artists. They weathered the storm. Do you get what I'm saying? They went through some tough times. There was times, I know some artists who they've been on their face, literally on their face, and where now, they've got through the toughest times in pursuit of a career as an artist, and now they're one of the UK's most recognised, most well paid spray can artists. I say UK, probably even in the world. Do you get what I'm saying? I know these people personally. Again, look at someone like Goldie. Goldie wasn't in pursuit of industry acceptance. He just done his thing from from the breakdancing, the graffiti, and then he got into the music industry, the DJing, the production. Do you get what I'm saying? He was never in pursuit of industry acceptance. He was just doing what he was doing, and it got to the point where he became that recognised for doing his thing that the industry had to recognize him. And now it's just gone the other way around. It's like he doesn't even need the industry no more. Everyone knows who he is. He does what he does. And he's good. He's good. So stop looking for validation and acceptance from the mainstream industry. Just stay true to your culture, whatever it might be. Again, whether that's as a turntablist, as a producer, whatever your thing is. As long as you stay true to what it is you do and true to the culture, you're good. You don't need the industry to push you to the forefront to say, yeah, this is now thriving or this is good. Do you get what I'm saying? Just do your thing, man.
I made it. Produced, I cooked up.
This week, Busta Rhymes dropped a new album. Let's pull it up. There we go. Extinction Level Event 2, The Wrath of God. Now, if you haven't listened to it, it's a good listen. It's a good listen. But I've just got a few things I want to say about it. The first thing I will say is Busta Rhymes done a very good job and is doing a very good job of capturing people's attention with the marketing of this album. Now, you'll remember in last week's episode, I spoke about the Busta Rhymes and T.I. versus battle. Now, Busta Rhymes obviously milked that situation, preempting the fact that I'm about to launch the marketing campaign for my album. We all knew it was coming. Obviously, he had singles. He had the single out with Anderson .Paak, and there was other bits floating around. So we knew the project was coming. But the way he leveraged that T.I. situation was perfect, because it was a seamless transition into the marketing of the album. You know what I mean? It was almost like there was no mention of T.I. anymore. It's like, okay, we've gone from that. We've got your ears, we've got your eyes. Oh, and here's the album's coming out as well this week. So on social media, I think he done a great job with the marketing. Definitely had a lot of people's eyeballs, a lot of attention, and it seemed like he was doing it all himself. There's not many artists of Busta Rhymes' caliber that I've seen that hands-on with their marketing. Do you get what I'm saying? He was using his platform, especially his Instagram. He was using it to the fullest extent. You know what I mean? He was getting on lives. He was just he done a good job utilizing and leveraging his platform with his device in his hand. For me, that was a really good look. And as artists and as creatives, we can take a lot from that. We can go direct to consumer when it comes to marketing, when it comes to brand awareness, when it comes to just engaging with the audience. So I definitely salute him for that. It got to the point where, and this is how much of a good job he done. It got to the point where when he said it was being launched, you know what I mean, on the date it came out, which was the 30th of October, I was literally refreshing my browser in Spotify, waiting for it to land. And as soon as it landed, boom, I just listened to it. And I had it on rotation for that day. So I just had it on plugged in while I was at work, and I was just had it in, just on rotation. One thing that became evident was the fact that, so it's called Extinction Level Event 2, The Wrath of God. And, throughout the whole campaign, he was talking about, the prophecy's going to be fulfilled. And, it was very much focused on leveraging the time we're in now, and that was very much woven into the marketing campaign. But when I listened to the album, it was like I felt a little bit let down. It was like I was expecting the concept of the album to be consistent throughout. So in the songs that were featured on the album, I was almost hoping that there would be a bit more substance in there. And I listened to them a few times, and I was wanting to hear more substance in relation to the concept of the album. But it was like the concept was woven through the album, like the golden thread was maintained mainly via skits. So it was like, the intro, very much, boom, the intro was focused and all around the concept of the album. But then as the tracks started to play out, it was like, oh, now this is just a Busta Rhymes song. It's not really in line or in keeping with the concept of the album. It's just like, obviously Busta's style of rap, he's very much a freestyle rapper. He's a vibes rapper. He hasn't really, he's never really been a substance rapper like that. Don't get me wrong, he says some stuff, but he's not like a Nas or a Kendrick. He's more stylistic. He's more of a vibes man. Do you get what I'm saying? It's more freestyle. He's not really talking about current world issues and, certain issues. He's just rapping. So that I was a little bit let down with that. And again, go and listen to it and you let me know if I'm wrong. Let me know if I'm wrong. The main concept of the album is carried through the skits. And there's times where he keeps on saying the name of the album throughout the album. And it's like, boss, I've got the album now, I'm listening to it. I don't need you to keep telling me what it is. Demonstrate what it is. This is like the conversation I'm having in my head. Like every time I hear him say, yo, like at the end of a track or the beginning of the track, it's an extinction level event 2, the wrath of God. It's like, okay, you said all that in your marketing, and now you're saying it I've got the product now, I've got it. You don't need to keep telling me what it is. I know what it is. Do you get what I'm saying? Just demonstrate now what it is. Don't tell me. It's something I used to say before when I used to work with MCs, and even now when I work with rappers, or if I'm speaking to an MC and I'm giving them feedback, I always used to say, and I always say, don't tell me how good you are in your raps. Demonstrate how good you are. You should not have to tell me in your bars that you're the sickest, that you're the illest, that you're the cold. You shouldn't have to tell me that. Just by delivering your bars will demonstrate that to me, and I will make the decision. Do you get what I'm saying? So when I'm listening to an MC and I keep hearing him saying he's the best and he's this and he's that and he's this and he's that, to me it's like, no, you're not, because you've got to tell me you are. Don't tell me you are. Demonstrate that you are. And it's almost like with this, don't tell me what it is. Demonstrate what it is. And I might be going a little bit too deep with it, or my expectations might be a little bit unrealistic, but that's just how I felt. One thing that I was very happy about, and again, this goes back to the previous segment about Is Boom Bap Dead? No, it's not. Because on this album, from the top, he's got Pete Rock on there. He's got Knots on there. He's got Jay Dilla and Pete Rock on the same track, producing the same track. He's got DJ Scratch producing on there. He's got Rockwilder on there. He's got Ninth Wonder on there. He's got High Tech on there. So when I look at the scope of producers he's working with and the beat selection, Boom Bap is far from dead. You know what I mean? Busta's demonstrating, it's 2020 coming into 2021, and I can present you with an album. So there's 22 songs on this album. Some of them are skits, but there's 22 tracks on here. It's an hour and 17 minutes long, and I would say it's 85% boom bap, like traditional hip hop, East Coast hip hop. There are some newer sounding tracks on there, which again are good. You know what I mean? The way he's put them together, there's some good music on there. But it was just encouraging to hear. You know what I mean? He's making something that is true to the culture. It's true to the hip hop culture. He could have easily gone and done now music. He could have gone and done popular today's music and got all the artists, because he's got the leverage. He could have worked with anybody, like all the name brand artists of today. He could have got them all on his album. This is his first studio album for 11 years. So he could have got anyone he wanted. Anyone, Little Baby, Da Baby, whoever, Megan Thee Stallion, whoever. He could have got them all the name brands of today. He could have got them all, but he didn't. He kept it very much traditional in that sense, in terms of who he's working with. He's got MOP on here, ODB's on here, Q-Tips on here, Rick Ross, Rhapsody. The track with Rhapsody, produced by Ninth Wonder. If you're asking the question, is Boom Bap Dead? Go and listen to that track. Just go and listen to that, and that'll answer your question. No, it's not. Far from it. So it was good to hear, and it gave me hope. Following that debate about Boom Bap being dead, you know what I mean, to hear this in light of that conversation taking place, you know what I mean, I might have to go back in that same post and just post this album and say, yo, you tell me, this is a top tier rapper. This guy's been around for 30 years, you know what I mean, active. This is his biggest album, his biggest release for like 11 years. And he's gone a boom bap route. He's gone a very traditional hip hop route. So yeah, man, it gave me hope. Again, I've got some criticisms. I would have liked to have heard more of the concept woven throughout the tracks. One thing I will say as well, I was really happy to hear. It was like a proud Midlands moment. So track number 5, Out of My Mind, featuring Bell Biv DeVoe, was produced by Dreddy. Now, Dreddy is a UK producer, not only a UK producer, he's from Birmingham. He's from like 25, 30 minutes in that direction. Do you get what I'm saying? I've been in studios where Dreddy's been. Do you get what I'm saying? I've worked in studios where Dreddy kind of come up. So just to know and to hear that, and it was like the tune came on. I didn't even know who produced it. The track came on. I heard the Bell Biv DeVoe sample, and I was like, yo, this is hard. And then the way Busta wrote it, I was like, yo, this is hard. It was a classic Busta track. And then I clicked on show credits, and I saw Dreddy. I thought, nah. And then, you know, as he's flowing, he's like, oh, Dreddy cut up the track. To get me, I was like, yeah, man, that's good to hear. That a local producer, a guy from my ends, you know, I'm not from Birmingham, but I'm in arm's reach. I'm in close vicinity to Brum. That was nice to hear and nice to know. So big up, salute, Dreddy. I don't know if you watched the podcast, but yo, I want to get you on. Definitely want to get you on as a guest and just talk about your journey, because Dreddy's worked with everyone. He's worked with everyone. Rick Ross, the whole of Flip Mode. He's worked with a whole bag of people. So yeah, man, salute that. It's good to hear a local producer, a guy from, you know what I mean, around my neck of the woods, still active, still repping, still putting out big tunes with big artists. So yeah, man, salute. So that's the Busta album, Extinction Level Event 2, The Wrath of God. Go and check it out.
I made it. Produced, I cooked up.
All right, so Flip It Challenge 192. Shout out to everyone who's been involved in this week's challenge. If it's your first time listening to the podcast, you don't know about the Flip It Challenge. As part of the Padbank community, we do a weekly Flip It Challenge where we post a new sample. You've got a few days to turn it around, produce a beat, submit it. Then the community vote on who wins. The winner's then announced, and the winner gets to pick the sample for the next challenge. And it's just on rotation like that. It's on constant rotation. It's a production line, no pun intended. So we're now up to challenge 192. This week's sample was selected by last week's winner, which was Quadragen. Salute again. And he selected Herbie Hancock's Death Wish. Now, this one was a little bit of a curveball, to be honest. I think this was a little bit of a cheat in terms of the sample selection, because the sample selection was the original soundtrack, which is like in this snippet I'm seeing here, this is like just under 20 minutes long. So it's like a number of different tracks. I haven't listened to any of the entries yet. If you want to listen to the sample, I will post a link to the sample in the description. So wherever you're seeing this, whether it's on YouTube, whatever platform you're watching this on or listening to this on, the link will be in the description. If you can't see the link, go to the Padbank website, go to this episode, and the link to the sample will be found there. But as I always say, I'm not even playing it because YouTube ain't ramping with the copyright strikes. So if you want to hear the sample, go and click the link. Just go over to thepadbank.com, find this episode number 11, and the link will be there. So yeah, man, let's check it out. We've got, how many we got? We've got 9 entries this week. So we're not even doing anything long. Let's just get straight into it. So this is, first up we have Jake Parks, and this is his entry to the Flip It Challenge 192. Let's do it.
Got a match? Yeah. What else you got? Let's see the money, man.
You'll have to take it.
So as you know, each week I'll play about a minute, just over a minute of each entry. It's a nice entry, Jake. I like that. Haven't really got much to say. I like the variety in terms of...
Hey, watch out!
Whoa.
Goodbye.
Yeah, I like the variety in terms of the different sequences, what you've done with it.
Let's see the money, man.
You'll have to take
And
it.
again, as I go through this, if you're watching on YouTube, feel free to comment. Like I said, all the entrants, they really appreciate the feedback. That's why they submit. So, if you've got a comment, just drop it down there in the chat. But it's a nice entry. Strong start. Sounds clean. Everything seems like it's sitting where it should sit in terms of the mix.
What else you got?
See, man, it's a nice entry. So that was Jake Parks. So big up yourself.
Pad bank.
All right, next up we've got Quadragen, who is last week's champ. So let's see what Quadragen brings to the table today. Just give me 1 second. Let's get this right. Here we go.
The pad bank. The pad bank.
You believe in Jesus? Well, you're going to meet him.
The pad bank.
Well, you're going to meet him. You believe in Jesus?
The pad bank.
Well, you're going to meet him.
The pad bank.
All right, so that was Quadragen's entrance. So Quadragen was last week's Flip It champ. He also selected the sample for this week. One thing that stood out to me immediately was when the drums came in. They lacked a little bit of impact, man. Like the sound is a little bit too distant. Now, something I will say, and again, I'm conscious of this. I said it before, I do mention a bit quite, in terms of my feedback, a lot of it is based on the mix. I've began to realise more so recently that not everything needs to be all up front and, you know what I mean, like banging. Like traditionally, when I would mix my drums, I wanted my drums out front, crunking, banging, hard-hitting snares, banging kicks, where I'm realising more so now, when I'm mixing, there's times where I kind of want to lose my drums in the mix, depending on the style of the beat. Now, in this case, it doesn't sound like it's meant to be like that. It just sounds like the kick's a little bit low. But, yeah, just some feedback there. So, shout out Quadrogen, appreciate the entry. Next up, we have my man 6 on Beats. And this is his entrance to
The Pad Bank.
Flip It Challenge 192. Let's go. This is 6 on Beats with Hancock.
The Pad Bank. The Pad Bank.
Alright, so that's 6 on Beats with his entry to the Flip It Challenge 192. Salute, my brother. I appreciate your consistency. I'm not a big fan of like broken beat type. And again, all these are just my opinions, my humble opinion. You know, that kind of broken beat sound. Not really a big fan of that. But everything sounds like it's as it should be. Everything sounds in place. The bass line, that's one thing I will say. Again, I've said it before. You'll hear me say it over and over again. I'm very much into like the musicality of things. You know what I mean? I want my beats to sound as musical as possible. Like to sound like there's a band that has played the beat, played the track. That's not always possible in every case, but that's what I aim to do. I think the bass sounds a little bit off key, man. But yeah, man, good entry, strong entry. Again, it's always nice to hear something different as well. So as much as I give my feedback is always based on my personal opinion. And you know the saying here, you know it goes, break the rules, but don't break the rhythm. So that was 6 on Beats. Big up yourself. Next up, we have Gareth Soul. Now, I'm not sure whether Gareth is a new member of the community. I haven't seen an entry from him before, and if I have, I didn't remember his name. So forgive me if you've been around for a minute, but this is Gareth Soul's entrance, and this is called Slow Motion.
The Pad Bank. pad bank. The pad bank.
All right, so that's Gareth Soul. I like that. I think I said it a few weeks back when I was reviewing. I said, you know, when you hear a beat that sounds familiar, it sounds like something that you would do, you can't help but smile. It definitely sounds like something that I would have put together in terms of like the style it's been chopped and the way it's been played. It just sounds like, yeah man, we're like-minded. I probably would have liked to have heard a change in the sequence coming a little bit earlier. But yeah man, I like that. Again, I'm going to contradict myself a little bit. So, you know, I was talking earlier about the mix. Not to focus too much on the mix, but you see with this, I would have probably pushed the drums back a little bit. You've got a nice, strong musical sample rolling. Very, very melodic. Nice melody. Very distinct, you know, I mean, the instrumentation is very distinct, the flutes. I would have had that at the forefront and probably, I definitely would have pulled my hats down a little bit. You know what I like doing? I like losing my hats in the mix. And I probably would have tried a different snare. But yeah, man, respect. Shout out Gareth Soul, I like it, man. Keep them coming. Okay, so next up we have Beats by Beats. Again, he's been submitting consistently over the last few weeks, so big up yourself. And again, you know what I mean, shout out to everyone who takes the time to engage in these challenges. I've said it before, I will continue to say it. The challenges are to inspire and encourage the community to stay active. Do you get what I'm saying? We post a new sample, so it gives you something that might take you outside of your comfort zone, might take you, you know what I mean? We might give you something you never even considered sampling before, whether it be the genre of music or the track itself, whatever. But the whole aim is to give you something to work with, to inspire you, to stay busy, to stay active. So shout out to everyone who engages. And again, a big encouragement to those who don't. Get involved, man. Get involved. We're not looking for perfection. It's just a case of bam, we flip it, we post it, we get feedback, we stay inactive. So this is Beats by Beats, and this is called We Are On.
The pad bank.
Alright, so that's Beats by Beats. What I've noticed with my brother here, he breaks the rules. Which is a good thing, you know what I mean? You're consistent, that's what I will say. You ain't trying to fit into the norm and just, you know what I mean, be dictated to by the norm. Everything you submit is always kind of a little bit left field, which, you know what I mean, bro? If that's you, that's you. You know what I mean? What can I say? I can't tell you how to throw paint on your canvas. It's your artwork, my brother. So it sounds a little bit like in one of the sequences, the first sequence, it sounds like this one, like you've changed the time signature, and it's like you're using a different time signature. It's certainly not 4/4. And then when the other one comes in, that's more of a traditional, like this one here, more of a traditional 4/4 pattern. Break the rules, bro. Do what you need to do. So again, salute.
Pad Bank.
I appreciate your entry. Next up, we have Dano Bravo Beats. So again, someone who submitted previously. And this is, it's called HH. And this is Dano Bravo Beats submission for the Flip It Challenge 192. Let's go.
The Pad Bank.
I've been examined ever since I was steaming. They took the sonogram and seen the image of a demon. Charles Manson in the flash, and he's out to flash.
The Pad Bank.
All right, so that is Dano Bravo Beats. What do you think? You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of MF Doom. Like something MF Doom would have on one of his albums. Grungy, crunchy, kind of minimalistic as well. I can work with it, man. I can work with you, bro. Again, it's not something I would make. It's not necessarily something I would have on my regular general playlist. But I get it.
I've been examined ever since I was steaming. They took the sonogram and seen it.
Yeah, man, I get it, man. I like it. I do like that crunchy, grungy, crispy sound as well, man. Like I've noticed, even like when I'm producing myself now, I'm purposely kind of adding a layer of like crunch or distortion, not overly distorting. Again, depending on what I'm working on, but I'm not aiming for that clean, crispy mix anymore. I do like a little bit of crunch, a bit of fuzz. So yeah, man, big up yourself, Dano Bravo Beats. Next up, we have my man, Mother Effers. I'm not going to say it because my kids like to listen to the podcast, so I'll try to keep it as clean as possible. But yeah, his name is Mother Effers. So, and this is his entrance to the Flip It Challenge 191. Let's go.
The Pad Bank. the pad bank. The pad bank.
Okay. It's like I'm not sure what I want to say. Like I'm still waiting. There's something there. There's something there, definitely, but it doesn't feel like it's together. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. It just feels disjointed. That's what's jumping out to me. It feels disjointed in the sense of the sequence is doing one thing and looped one way, and then the drums are doing something else, and then the bass is getting involved in the mix as well. It's like, yeah, man, it sounds disjointed. I like the chop you took out of that 19-minute sample. I like that piece there, but I would have spent a bit more time getting it right. Again, something I've said previously, you know what I mean? It's the challenge with chopping samples is keeping the soul in the music, you know what I mean? Chopping's one thing and banging on the pads is one thing. It's keeping the soul in it. And when I say soul, I don't mean like soul music. I'm not saying everything needs to sound like a soul song. What I'm saying is just that it's just that feeling, you know what I mean? That feeling in the music. I want it to do something to me, like move me, you know. I just want to go with it. If you're watching the video, you see my face, it's like, you get me? That's what I'm talking about. And that kind of lacked that. It had the potential for it, you know what I mean? And this whole sample, that 90 minutes of sample you've got to work with, from what I've heard so far, there's pure soul in there. Try to maintain some of that, you know what I mean? But yeah, shout out to me, Mother Effers. Again, I haven't seen an entry from you before, so I'm assuming you're a new member. We appreciate the entry, man. Big up yourself. Next up, we have DJ Storm. So let's jump straight into it. This is DJ Storm's entry. Alright, so that's DJ Storm. Big up yourself, my brother. DJ Storm always keeps the bar high. I like that. It's clean. And so going back to what I previously said about the soul, Definitely got the soul in there. It's got soul. Yeah, man, very clean, tidy. Ooh, you can't beat a good Tom's roll, can you? So big up yourself, DJ Storm. Again, I can't really say much more about that. You know what I mean? Big up yourself. I definitely like that one. All right, last up is my man Richard Tarrin. Big up yourself, Richard. This is his entry, Death Wish.
You believe in Jesus? Well, you're going to meet him.
The pad bank. The pad bank.
All right, so that's my man Richard Tarrin. Again, nice entry, man. I like the fact you've used multiple elements of the sample. Kept it musical. I probably would have liked to have heard the bass line follow the the sample more. It's like there's a bass. It's like there's a bass line in the sample, and then you've overlaid it with more of a sub bass, which kind of breaks it a little bit. But yeah, man, big up yourself, Richard. So those are all the entries. Shout out to everyone who got involved. The winner, I just checked. So again, let me just say, I'll say every week, just want to make it 100% clear as day. I do these reviews and I do these podcasts after the winner has been announced, because I don't want to sway the opinions of the community when they're voting. So this week's winner was DJ Storm. So big up yourself, DJ Storm.
The pad bank.
I need to just get a round of applause sound effects, which I'll have in place next week, or some gunshots or something.
The pad bank.
Prop. Get one of those in there. But big up yourself, DJ Storm. Definitely a valid winner. Let's just get that playing in the background. There we go. So that's challenge 192. We've already posted challenge 193. So that is now live. I've actually seen some submissions coming through already. So listen, these guys ain't playing games. As it lands, they're on it. And the way we try to time it is we give you the weekend to get to work. So that I think the new sample each week is posted around Thursday evening. So that gives you Friday, Saturday, Sunday to get to work. And then they've got to be submitted by Monday evening. And then the winner is announced on the Wednesday. So man, big up yourself, DJ Storm, much appreciated. Again, if you're watching this or if you're listening to this and you're sitting there thinking, I could have flipped that sample better than that, or yo, if I would have submitted, I would have won that. As I always say, put your money where your big talk is. Your big talk will get you nowhere. You know what I mean? Join the community and submit your entry, and let's see what you got. Again, just a reminder, as we're nearing Challenge 200, I'm going to be doing something special for Challenge 200. So we're going to have quite a significant or substantial prize. Not sure what it's going to be yet, but as it stands, you know, I mean, in the 192 challenges we've had previously, the prize has just been you get to pick the next sample, which is great. You know, what I mean, no pressure. But to mark the 200th edition or the 200th challenge, I'm going to be making a prize available, so look out for that. Well, big up everyone who has submitted. Appreciate you guys, and shout out to you for sticking with me this long. I appreciate your ears, I appreciate your eyes, I appreciate your attention. Again, as we move forward with the podcast, we're definitely going to be reaching out to others in terms of interviews, in terms of engagement. We're going to be including a few different features as well. And also, if you would like to advertise or sponsor the podcast, then just go to thepadbank.com, scroll all the way to the bottom, and you'll see a link where you can we can basically initiate the conversation about advertising or sponsorship. So if you've got a product you want to promote, if you've got a beat tape coming out, if you want to promote the beats you're producing, or promote yourself as a producer, if you've got an event going on, if you just got a business that you believe the Pad Bank reaches your target audience, then reach out, man. What I will say is early days for the podcast, so our advertising fees and rates right now are the lowest they will ever be. We see once we build the platform to a certain point, you're going to wish that you had grandfathered in at those rates, as they say. So yeah, man, but if you are interested, seriously, if you're interested in advertising with us or sponsoring, then just go to thepadbank.com, scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see a link saying advertise with us. So in the meantime, as always, you know, I mean, stay safe, stay productive, stay creative, and I'll see you again in another episode of the Pad Bank. All the best, God bless, and take care.
I made it. I made it. I made it. I produced. I made it. I made it. I produced. I cooked up.